Let me guess, you bought a Silhouette Cameo and you're too afraid to use it. I know how that feels, so I want to help you. I'm going to get you going in 3 simple steps. You should be up and running within 15 minutes. Now, this is not anything advanced, but this will get you to start cutting out vinyl right away. Like you've seen in the intro, I had bought one of the first Silhouettes that came out. I was so intimidated to use it that I actually let it sit in the box for about 3 years. And when I went to go ahead and use it, the software was out of date. So we don't want that to happen to you. Let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how you can get started today, right now. I'm going to assume you already unboxed everything and just kind of took a look at it, and you're at the point where you're just not sure how to work the program. Okay, so when you open up your Silhouette Studio, right now I have a design on there. I'm just going to show you from scratch what it's going to look like. File, New. That's going to bring up your little mat, and that is your working area there. Okay? And to get the grid, you just want to go into View and Show Grid, and that will give you this. And it's really helpful because you can line up your words really good and your designs. Over here is all your little tools. This is your selection tool where you're able to move things around with. And then this one here is you can just type things out with that. And those are the only 2 that you need to know right now, to move things around or to type some words out. Now over here on the right, there is a page setup. You want to make sure that your machine is the correct machine on there. You know, there's a drop down. Once you plug your machine in, it should show your machine. Then our mat is going to be a 12 by 12. You want to make sure that that's selected. So, I mean, that's perfect. That's all you need to know. And then we'll get into a little more. But the first thing you need to know is to know how to design. And then the second step will be to trace. This is where you're going to find your trace. That'll be the next step that we're going to do. And then we're going to send it to cut out on your Silhouette. So those are the 3 things you need to do. Right now we're going to design. Then you need to know where the trace button is. And lastly, you need to know where the send button is. And that is it, okay? So let's get started. Okay, when you're designing something, you need to look at the object you want to put it on, and you need to figure out how big it's going to be. We're actually going to make this for my Etsy store. It's just like a jar, you know, a glass container, and we're going to put on there dog treats. So you first want to measure. So it looks like we probably will need something that's 3 inches wide and maybe about 3 inches tall, 3.5. So we want to keep our design within that range. So now we know how big it needs to be. Okay, so we are in design mode right now, and we're going to go ahead and use the text. We're going to click over here, and we're just going to type dog treats. Now, I don't like this font. It doesn't look very good. So I'm going to take my cursor, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to highlight it all. Now, right here is where all our fonts are. I like to use a font called Lemon. So there we have it. We have dog treats. I'm trying to center that a little better. Now, if we click on that, we'll see that this measures 3 and 1.84 inches and 2.228 inches. We technically want this to be a little bigger. We said we could go up to about 3.5. We're going to go about 3.5. You just click on this, you'll see a little arrow, and you just drag it down. Same with the side. We want this to be at least 3 inches. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to drag it out to about 3. Okay, so I think that looks really good. This is our design right here. And that's all there is to designing that. From right here, because we used the font in design mode, all we have to do is go over to send. Now that we're in send, you can see that it's highlighted. You want to make sure you're using the vinyl matte, that's what I use, and the correct blade setting, which is 2. And the settings 10, 5, we're doing 1 pass. If you have all these settings like that, all you need to do is hit send and it will cut out the design perfectly for you. So you're just gonna take a piece of vinyl that will fit your design, and then we're gonna line that right up to the corner here of our mat. Okay, just press that down. Then see this mark right here? This is where you want the mat to line up. Once you have it lined up, you're going to press the up key, and that will load our material. And then I'm going to go ahead and send that. So I'm going to click the send button. As you can see, it's starting to cut out our design. It is easy as that. And you didn't even have to do step 2. The design is now done, and you're just gonna press the downshift key here, and that lets go of it. Okay, first things first, we're gonna go ahead and peel away all the excess vinyl. You're gonna go ahead and weed out all the little bits and pieces that are still stuck on there. And then we're gonna take some clear transfer tape and place that over our design. I like using this brayer. It works so well. You just kind of roll it over your design and it really just adheres the design to the transfer tape. I'll make sure to put a list of everything that I use in the description. That way, if you want to get any of these items, you can just click on a link. So now you're just going to carefully peel back the transfer tape, which will now have your design on it. And then you're going to place it on your jar or whatever you're going to be putting this design on. Make sure to center it and just kind of place it down onto the object. Run your fingers over the transfer tape, and then you're going to want to go over it with a credit card. Just kind of like, go over it so that the letters are going to adhere to your object and not on the transfer tape anymore. And then you're just going to carefully peel back that transfer tape and your design will be on the object. And look, we didn't even have to do step 2, but I am going to teach you how to do step 2 because you're going to need to know how to do tracing. Tracing we're going to use when we have like an original design. Okay, so we just got an order in through Etsy, and it's one of my original designs, and it's not something that we can just go ahead and use the text button. So we're going to go ahead and take the dog treat that we designed and just push that off to the side. You have to use your little selection key to move it over to the side. Now we're going to go ahead and find our design. Once we find it, we're going to drag it on top of the screen. Yikes. Okay, this is a little too big. So what we're going to do is take our selection tool, and we're just going to go in the corner of the design, and we're going to click on that corner and press down. This is going to shrink that design. Okay, so I'm just trying to raise it up a little just so I can see exactly how far I need to shrink it down again since it's moved so far down the page. Okay, yeah, it's still too big. So we're just going to take that little corner and we're just going to keep on shrinking it down until we get it around the right size. Okay, we're needing this to be about 5.5 by 10 3/4. That's the size of this lettering. So we're going to get it to that. And then now we're going to go ahead and push that up onto the mat in position. Okay, now it's time to use the trace button. We're going to click on that, and then we're going to click select trace area. Now with our selector, we're going to go ahead and hold that down and drag it over our design, which you'll see makes a box. Then the lettering turns yellow, and that's exactly what we want. Over here on your right, there's the threshold button, and you're just going to kind of go back and forth with that. If you notice certain areas are not being covered enough, this will allow that to be covered completely. And once it looks good, you go ahead and hit trace. And then if we move our actual design out, you will see the red lettering. And that is exactly what we want because the Silhouette's going to recognize it as a cut file. And we can send it over to the Silhouette and it'll be ready to cut. Just make sure all your settings are correct. You have the vinyl. It's set on 2. Again, 10, 5. We're going to do 1 pass and then hit send and you are all set. I encourage you to start using your Silhouette today because everything I taught you, you should have no problem. You should be able to use it today. Thank you for watching, and you're going to be so happy that you started finally using it because the Silhouette, it's a game changer. If you like this episode of Flea Market Rescue and you want to see more episodes like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. I'm Kelly Sherry, and this has been Flea Market Rescue.